All right, ladies and gentlemen, nothing more important than your health. And as the late Dr. Fred Vanini said, your health is in your own hands. And joining us now is Dr. Carl Lavie, and he is a board-certified cardiologist, a pioneering heart researcher, and the author of a very important new book. It might surprise you. It surprised the heck out of me. The Obesity Paradox, when thinner means sicker and heavier means healthier. You know what this reminds me of, Doctor? It's like every day we do the financial report, and sometimes on Wall Street, bad news is good news for the market because it means they're not going to raise interest rates, or it supposedly means that. So it's like the world turned upside down. So how could it be that too thin is no good and being a little overweight or more overweight is okay?
Well, my colleagues and I think, have been involved in some fascinating research for the last 15 years that in some ways was initially surprising to me as a doctor and has been somewhat controversial, and in many ways has turned conventional wisdom on its head. I mean, basically, our research has shown that fat is not always the devil. Now, I'd like to point out, Steve, that I am in no way in my book, The Obesity Paradox, trying to promote obesity or to get normal weight people to gain weight. But for the majority of the people, adults in the United States, who are either considered overweight or obese at this point in time, it's not doomsday for them, because the data is showing now repeatedly that fitness is much more important than fatness with regard to long-term health outcomes. And so it's much more important to be fit, and you get fit by being physically active, than it is what you weigh.
All right, so you're saying a thin person gets complacent. They think my weight's pretty good. I'm not, I'm okay. So they sit in front of the TV set. Maybe their body chemistry just burns it off, and they don't gain weight. But they're not helping themselves. They might be harming themselves. That I could see. But how does the overweight person, even just by walking and maybe exercising a little, but yet they're still overweight, they could be healthier than the thin person sitting around?
That's absolutely correct. Now, certainly there are thin people that are very healthy. There are thin people who are physically active and fit and have good cardiometabolic health and are at very low risk of cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases. But you can't just look at a thin person and think that they're definitely healthy, because there are a lot of thin people who are not physically active or physically weak, don't have much muscle, and that's very important. And they're actually more unhealthy than the heavier person, and especially more unhealthy than the heavier person who's fit. Now, you might say, well, how can you be heavy and be fit? Now, there's no way you can be 400 pounds or have body mass indexes in the upper 40s, close to 50, and be fit. But there are a lot of people who are overweight or at least mildly obese. BMI's in the low 30s for mildly obese, or BMI between 25 and 30 for the overweight category. That many of these individuals can be fit, and they can actually be fitter than a normal weight person.
All right, so a normal weight person with low muscle, if you said mass, if that's the correct term, what do you suggest they do? Like dumbbells and whatnot?
Absolutely. So it's very important for the thin person to also be physically active, and not only with aerobic fitness, but probably doing some resistance training to increase muscle mass, because that's one of the things that very thin people can sometimes have very low muscle mass. And on the other hand, when people gain weight, if you gain weight and you're not being very physically active, certainly you gain mostly fat, but you do gain some muscle. So when somebody puts on 20 pounds of weight, now if they're very physically active while they gain weight, you gain more muscle. But if you're gaining 20 pounds without being very physically active, you still don't gain all 20 pounds of fat.
Right, some muscles in there.
3, 5, 7 pounds of muscle.
All right, what I suggest is everybody buys the book. There are 10 strategies here for a healthy living at any weight. This is it's shocking to me. It's revolutionary to me, and I think the Obesity Paradox by Dr. Carl Lavie should be read by you all. There it is on the screen. And Doctor, I hope we'll speak again. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks
Good
for
luck with the book.
Steve.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, we'll be back, folks, with more of the very aptly named Steve Malzberg Show right after the break. Don't go away.